Okay, we're now in the second half of our episode this week and ang tanong natin, Comemec-tion na naman ito. Hindi lang doon sa election mismo, kundi pati yung selection ng sistema na gagamitin natin. Ano? And by the way, ang latest dramatic exercise of suffrage, if that's the right term for it, is in Greece. Ano? Yung referendum. And everybody noticed that it's manual, at tinulog pa sa balota, yung ballot box and so on. What is wrong with that? Di ba? But anyway, I received this fax from AES Watch, Automated Election System Watch, yung mga nagbabantay po sa Comelec. At may mahalagang issue po. Ano? And na-obserbahan naman ng publiko, ako nagbabasa ng dyaryo, yung mga katakatakang mga desisyon tungkol sa Smartmatic and so on, hindi ko naman maintindihan. Mabuti we have the AES and the volunteer lawyers of AES to help explain this. And they're preparing to file petitions on these issues. But it's really beyond me. Tulad nitong parallel public bidding. Hindi ko naintindihan yan. But before we go into that, please add to the my response to what your response would be to Juan Torres earlier, saying that Ms.Poe is natural born and so on. I tried to verify with you earlier, totoo bang inaamin nila foundling sila? Wala namang sinasabi na formal si Ms.Poe. But shouldn't she clarify this already? And if she is a foundling, is the claim that she is natural born because of that founded in any legal, solid legal basis?
Actually, the question is very opportune because the 2016 elections are fast approaching, and it's not just having elections for senators, congressmen, and local officials, but we will be electing a new president. So that makes it very, very significant. So the question can really be answered straightforwardly. From my end, it's really clear that she is not a Filipino because...
Not a Filipino or natural-born Filipino?
Not a natural-born Filipino.
Okay, just to make sure.
There are two aspects of it. Not a Filipino and not a natural-born Filipino.
Even the first statement?
I would like to address the
Really?
first point. She's not natural-born because as she had admitted in several interviews, that she is a foundling.
So she has stated
it came from her own mouth that she's a foundling, and therefore, under existing law, she cannot be considered a natural-born citizen. I'm referring to the 1935 Constitution, considering that she was born before the ages of the 1987 Constitution. And so under the 1935 Constitution, for you to become a Filipino, a natural born at that, your father must be a Filipino.
Father, it has to be not the mother.
Not the mother, but the father should be natural born Filipino. So it's by blood.
Okay, but what about the 71 Constitution? Was there a change there? 71, di ba?
Yeah.
May nagbago ba doon?
Very little, but the 1935 Constitution is more unique.
Okay.
Because it says that the father determines the citizenship of the children or the child. Now, the other thing that I would like to stress is that she may not even be a Filipino at all because, as we have learned, and also from what she had said, that she had been naturalized as an American.
Yes.
And she was issued an American passport, and she had been using the passport even after she had claimed to have renounced Philippine citizenship. And under existing jurisprudence, particularly the case of Makiling versus Comelec, she may have lost her status as a dual citizen. And therefore, she had regained automatically her American citizenship. But in her case, because she's a foundling, it's even more complicated because she may not even be a citizen of the Philippines at all. And therefore, she might be considered stateless. Unless the U.S. will recognize her again as an American. So the situation is really very unique. I have not heard of any situation like this. And it just so happened that she is the #1 senator, and this issue crop up. So let us dissociate or keep ourselves away from whatever emotions that may arise as a result thereof, because this is a legal issue and a matter imbued with public interest. We are not really taking this on a personal level. We have to deal this professionally, and as a nation, it is our obligation to see to it that all public officials, especially those aspiring for positions higher than a senator, to be natural born. Otherwise, anybody can just come in and say that she or he is natural born, and through some luck, might even land a very high position in government.
Well, I personally have experience with these questions, and I don't want to dwell too much on this because we have to move on to the main subject. But I ran for the Senate in 1995 with Miriam Santiago. We were only two in our team. And eventually, after the election, I questioned the practices in the elections, dagdag bawas and so on, nainis yung chairman, si Pardo. He was investigator and judge and executioner and issued a warrant of arrest and so on. I spent 5 days in jail. I refused to bail because I'm doing my job as a journalist also. But some people, including sila Teddy Boy Locsin and others, bailed me out with contributions and so on. But and well, I did not perform any act to perfect my citizenship, but I was born when my parents were in the process of naturalization.
I see.
So Miriam told me, you can argue the case because I did not perform an act. But it doesn't matter. I don't have a stake in it anymore. It's just that the laws are important because some people are so emotional they don't want even to study it anymore in the case of Ms.Poe, which is unfair to other citizens. That's my only point here.
That's correct.
Okay, so Manny, let's go to this petitions you will file. You will be filing in the Supreme Court ba?
Actually, we already filed last Tuesday. There are two petitions. One is that of the AES Watch and mpeg, as well as of the AC teachers, AC Philippines. And the other one is that petition of about 8 archbishops and bishops and others. So there are two pending petitions in the Supreme Court questioning, one, the parallel bidding, which is now being conducted at the Comelec, and then the creation of 2 special box or special bids and awards committee, and they're assisting technical working groups. And the other one is really the more contentious, perhaps, is the realignment of billions of pesos in order to meet the certificate of availability of funds in order to justify the holding of simultaneous bidding for the refurbishment of old PCOS machines and the bidding for the lease with option to purchase of first 23,000 OMR, optical mark reader units, which is actually PCOS, and the other, for the second lot, 70,977 OMR units.
And bakit may parallel bidding? Bakit sabay ba yan? Why not just the regular bidding process and so?
I'm also surprised because I've never encountered such a thing. Not only because I'm a lawyer, but even during those times when I was still studying law, I have not encountered jurisprudence on this particular matter. So I think this was just invented by Comelec. And I think this came about because of the decision of the Supreme Court in the case of Pabilio versus Comelec, where the direct contracting for the repair of the PCOS machines was struck down or was stricken down by the Supreme Court because of the violation of the Comelec of the policy of a public and competitive bidding. So perhaps in reaction to that, they concocted this concept, which does not even exist, nor is implicitly recognized by any law, much more the Government Procurement Reform Act or Republic Act 9184. So I'm really at a loss why such a thing ever ever came about, and who told the Comelec, particularly the leadership at the Comelec, that this could be done. To my mind, this is illegal, and this is not sanctioned by law, or this may even be contrary to public policy.
The new Comelec chairman Bautista is a lawyer.
He is.
Yo,
He is a compañero.
Paano nakalusot itong questionable of course we will have to wait for their defense in court of this thing, but it's not often that lawyers would disagree on something this basic.
I know that he is a very good lawyer. He has already built a name for himself, but in the area of election laws, I think he has no experience as an election lawyer. So perhaps that is one reason that caused him not being too circumspect about what to approve, because the idea probably came from a department director or probably one of the lawyers at the Comelec, and because he was also pressed for time because the 2016 elections, in fairness to him, are really fast approaching. So maybe did not give it much thought and approved the same. And also the NBank did the same thing. Of course, there were commissioners with reservations on this particular resolution, resolution number 15-0355, which calls for a simultaneous bidding, and also the creation of new special box for the purpose of procurement of new OMRs and also for the refurbishment.
Okay. Now, we'll wait for the results, and we'll ask you to report again to our audience when the petition is already being studied by the court, and there are, what will follow, a oral arguments ba? Meron bang ganyan?
Well, perhaps by next week the Supreme Court will already tackle it, because what I know is that they are going over it, but we cannot discuss anymore by that time the merits of the petitions, because it would be sub judice. And but of course, media will continue to report out the development at the court with respect to the two cases, because these are really imbued with public interest. There is a compelling significance of the issues, and the Filipino nation really expects the Supreme Court to tackle these cases immediately and definitively or decisively.
Okay. Before we move on to two other issues, there's this line here: the cost of procuring new PCOS machines of 12.641 billion pesos from taxpayers' money also exceeds the legally authorized expenditure level for that purpose by over $1 billion. What purpose? For that purchase of PCOS machine?
You look at the GAA of 2015. This is the General Appropriations Act. The Comelec is authorized only to spend about 11.4, if I'm not mistaken, billion pesos for election preparations for 2016. But with the realignment, they have already reached 14.6.
So that's 3 billion over?
That would be unconstitutional, because that's a DAP-like alignment.
DAP is Development Assistance.
Disbursement
the
Acceleration
infamous,
Program.
Disbursement Acceleration.
Yes. And I don't think so that the items realigned or the budgetary funds could be realigned in the first place, because they don't constitute savings. For instance, they realign the budget for the SK, but the SK election, has just been moved to October. It was not abolished. The SK was not abolished. So how could
they
you
got
realign?
it from the SK election.
Yes.
And what would happen also if they did that is that the SK will be short of funds naman.
By October, where will they get the money?
Where will they get naman?
To
Mag-realign na naman
the
sila.
SK election. The other is the cancellation of the VBS. We must have heard that
What's the VBS? You have to...
this is the voting verification system project.
Okay.
If you have noticed, the Comelec has been very aggressive in calling out for people to go to the malls or even to the election offices to have their biometrics data captured.
That's right,
But people don't know that they have abolished the voters verification system project,
Yeah, okay.
which is the biometrics project.
So this cannot happen.
So how could you confirm that a voter is really registered in 2016 when he goes to the polls if you don't have the VVS project? So they also realigned the money for that. And then they also got money from the canceled DRE project. The DRE is a direct recording electronic. It's like an ATM machine. This is the full automated election machine, which has been scuttled. And then they also got money from the election management system. The election management system involves the configuration of data from the precincts.
Just listening to all these various maze-like systems already confuses me, and I don't know how the rest of the public would understand this labyrinthian election process. And but let's move on. There earlier at the Kamuning Bakery Cafe, there was a press con about this hybrid system, Gaslagman system. That's one question that maybe you can fill us up in, and then maybe the other one I'll remember as we discuss. Okay, go ahead.
What was demonstrated this morning was the Tapat. Tapat is an open election system, and the demonstrators were Engineer Villasanta and his son, and they presented it's like a lotto type kind of election technology.
Okay.
So it's built upon that concept wherein you shade numbers which correspond to candidates.
So may pangalan yun,
from
number,
president down to the lowest local positions. And then the ballot is scanned by a tablet, actually a tablet like
tablet,
that. A tablet. The camera of the tablet is the one acting like a
ganito,
scanner.
Parang ganito lang, may camera. Okay.
Yeah. And then it records what it photographs, and then automatically, because there's a program in it, it counts the shades or the marks on that ballot, short ballot, and then tallies the votes.
Okay.
And this is actually faster than...
No, may projector ba so that the audience can
There's a
see it?
projector also. This is similar to that of Gaslagman, but I think this is faster because there's no more tally board.
No more
The tally board, which is manual, is the one that slows down the process. So there's no tally board. And I noticed that it only took them about 1.5 to 2.5 minutes for each of the voter to finish shading and for the count to be registered.
And the average voters per precinct is 200, di ba?
Well, it's 200.
200. So that's total times 2, 400 minutes. Gawin mong 500 minutes divided by 60, that is less than 10 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it's still faster, but we have yet to see how it will succeed if, for instance, the real scenario in a form of a mock election is done. Because what happened this morning was only a demonstration. But the potentials are really
I noted one
great.
thing. So as the camera takes the picture, it cannot be flashed on a screen because secret balloting di ba? So you're not, siguro doon sa tallying, how do they tally
what
at
is
the end?
projected is just the result.
The result.
Yeah, not the ballot that is scanned.
So while scanning the ballot, the totals change?
Yes,
Siguro?
yes.
Okay.
It's the tally that is projected. And to my mind, that does not violate the
so may
ballot
projector.
secrecy or sanctity rule.
So people can take pictures of that tally as it is going on and so on. So
Correct.
it's open.
That's true.
And then there is verifiability at the end because the ballot is there, the pictures of the tally is there.
Not only,
ano pa?
a receipt is
Yun,
produced,
importante.
which corresponds to the so-called BB pad receipt, voter verification, tally system, something like that. It's a BB
so
pad.
I'm a voter. After I vote, it's scanned. I get the receipt showing that I voted this, and I can say, tama ito.
You can counter check. You can actually check what is projected in the laptop, which is not projected on the screen.
It's not on the screen.
And
okay.
if you are satisfied that your choices
Are correct, no?
are correct or accurately recorded, then you can put back into the machine or into some kind of receptacle the receipt, the small receipt,
Okay.
which confirms your choices.
So, hindi ko dadalhin yung resibo?
No, because it might
Yun.
compromise
Ang claim nga ng Comelec is that
the secrecy
lalabas
of the
ka
ballot, yes.
at ipapakita mo doon sa magbabayad sa iyo na
Yeah.
pinota mo. Okay, sige. at
So
least.
that particular concern has been addressed
Okay.
by Engineer Villasanta, and
Okay.
I'm happy that was able to.
Now,
to do
Comelec
such a
is saying the hybrid will cost so much, 16 billion pesos. Is that true?
Well, they're talking of that system demonstrated in Cavite. But this one, well, I don't know how they will evaluate this, because they have actually they will be invited to a mock
Okay.
election.
So how many alternative systems now are being offered? The
Two.
one in Cavite, this one.
This one.
What about Gaslagman? That's the third one, di ba?
No, that is not of Gaslagman, actually.
And
That's of Engineer Villasanta.
So dalawa lang.
There are about, well, I've also observed another one. So as far as I know, there are already 3.
Yeah.
And I'm promoting all these technologies because these are innovative
Yeah.
Filipino technologies. And under our law and the Constitution, it is the obligation of the state, the duty of the state,
right.
to promote
Filipino-
Filipino ingenuity, innovations, science and technology.
Okay, now, the problem with Smartmatic, and we've received the reports, and Kit Tata has written about it twice sa Manila Times column niya. I'm about to write about it, but I'm letting Kit first exhaust his information. A certain Lord Mark Malloch Brown has taken over the holding company that took over Smartmatic. This Lord Mark Malloch Brown is a British associated with George Soros, the financial manipulator. He has also been a cabinet member in the British Parliament, and if I recall correctly, involved in British intelligence. So that's a problem with having foreign companies getting their fingerprints all over our election system. It will always be suspect. What is your information on this matter?
I've read something about him, and I can confirm that some of what you said have been written by some people, but I really don't know who he is, because it's the first time that I've heard about such a name, although he is boasting that he used to counsel the late President Corazon Aquino, but I cannot confirm that. But if the information is true, then he's a dangerous man.
That's
because
right. Well,
foreigners should not interfere in Philippine affairs, in Philippine elections. That is prohibited by the Omnibus Election Code.
well, in our country where it seems that foreign influences like the American zone are still so evident, such as in the Department of Foreign Affairs, it's a problem we have to tackle with. And expose first. We have to expose it
That's
first.
a direct meddling. And also, there's a problem with conflict of interest, because his company or companies are participating in the biddings before the Comelec.
And I think Brown arrived in the Philippines just a few months ago to talk to Comelec and so on. So these are real issues. Well, we've run out of time, but I can assure you we'll produce his picture, his face, and so on in our next episode discussing this Lord Malloch Brown. And by the way, the LaRouche movement is at the forefront of exposing him all over the world. But that's for our next episode. We've run out of time. So maraming salamat, Attorney.
Thank you.
For your service to the nation and to the
Salamat.
AES Watch.
Thank you.
Mabuhay po kayong lahat, and have a good weekend until our next episode.